Hi guys, welcome to Bob Dove Motorsports. Today we're going to sit down with Paul and his dad Bob, and we're going to have a little chat about the business, how it started and their history in motorsport. Come along guys, and I'm sure you're going to have a great time because they know a hell of a lot about old Alfa Romeos. Go. Welcome to Classic Alfa. My name's Will, and I'll be taking you to meet some of our friends, biggest customers and other noticeable Alfisti. Here at Classic Alfa, we pride ourselves on the quality of our parts and service. We have over 6,500 parts in stock, all ready for next day dispatch. And we'll be following some of our classic Alfa Romeo parts to the workshops in which they're needed. In our new video series, From Shelf to Shop. Paul,
nice to meet you, Will.
Nice to meet you. Thanks very much for welcoming us to Bob Dove.
It's all right, great to have you guys here. We've been a customer of yours for quite a long time, so it's good to meet sort of the people behind the company, really. So.
And it's brilliant to meet Bob as well earlier, but Paul's going to take us around and show us all the work that him and his brother really have been doing on all these lovely Alfas behind us.
Yeah, so I start off with this.
Start with GTV.
GTV, so Mike, my brother, fortunately he's had the flu this week, so he's not with us, but Mike's been on this car for the last sort of week. He's been putting the engine and gearbox in. So this is one of our fast road 1750 engine rebuilds. And we've rebuilt the gearbox. So Mike's put this in and he's got the gearbox in. It's got a full stainless exhaust system. So Mike's been labouring over this for quite a while. So hopefully next week we'll go for start up.
Oh wow.
The engine's been dyno tested.
Okay. And
it's run, so it's just a case obviously making sure nothing leaks and road testing it.
How much power is it making on the dyno?
On the dyno 152 horsepower. It's a good balance between power and drivability. Any more power in these, they come a little bit sort of horrible to drive on the road. They're quite revvy, and low down power isn't very nice. So this is sort of a maximum you want to go really.
And this is 1750?
1750, yeah. You can get more power out of these, but then it becomes a bit more of a race engine. That's not what he wants.
You want usability as well.
Yeah, so we obviously got some bits to finish off. Got to put the trumpets on, got to put the starter motor in. Yeah, no, I'm really happy with this so far, and it's a lovely paint job as well. We haven't done the paint job, but someone else has done it, but it's a really nice car actually. So.
Do you do paint and bits here as well?
We don't do paint, we do restoration work. I mean, that thing over there is an Evo 4 that Mike has been restoring the last few years. He's been welding that, so he's done really nice work on that. We have a black Series 4 Spider, which is outside, that we've done a lot of restoration work as well. But we tend to do more of the mechanical engine side of things.
So mechanical engine stuff and then bit fabrication as well.
We do. I mean, we do most jobs.
Looks amazing. Like.
Yeah, well, we can show a little bit of Mike's work in a bit later if you want.
Yeah,
but,
sounds great.
Yeah, mainly mechanical work. We do most things in 105s. I think the only thing we don't really do is steering boxes and rear axles.
Yeah.
And that's anything else we can do.
And do you often get people from all over the country?
Yeah,
all the way down here?
Yeah, I mean, we got that white 102. It's come from, I can't remember exactly before, somewhere near London, or I'll have to double check. He's probably going to be angry at me for telling the wrong location, but he's come back 4 hours away. The grey GTV in the corner's come 4 hours away. The red Spider in the corner, that's come from South Wales. Wow. So we actually get a lot more from sort of Midlands or sort of the South East. We get some local stuff, but it's not that many local Alfas around here. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I was going to say, do you want to move on to the touring? This is absolutely gorgeous. You've been doing a lot of work on this recently, right, yourself?
Well, we haven't actually started work on this.
Okay.
So this is owned by a guy called Mikey. He's a lovely chap. We can take the engine out on this. I think it's going to need an engine rebuild because it's putting oil in the water, or oil in the radiator. So he's got head gasket problems or head problems. So we need to take it out and dismantle it and really go through everything and make sure, find out what the problem is. Because I think it had a head gasket and it done 40 miles and it put oil in the water again. So it's definitely an issue here.
So it's come back here to get the head gasket done properly this time.
Yeah, so we'll take the engine, put it around next week, and we'll take the engine out of it and have a proper look. Because I think it done it back in August, September last year. So if it's put water in the oil as well, it's potentially some engine damage in there. So So we'll get into that soon. I'm quite looking forward to getting into this because we haven't worked on these very much. I mean, we've done a few 2600 Alfa engines,
Cool.
but this is the first time I've worked on a 102 Spider.
Okay.
Which should be quite nice, quite interesting. Bob's worked on a few of these, so I'll be digging into Bob's knowledge.
Yeah, I was interested in to know sort of what ratio you guys do sort of road cars to race cars.
I suppose nowadays we do a lot, most of it is road car stuff really. I mean, when my dad was doing it sort of 20 years ago, he was probably more on the motorsport side.
Yeah.
So really, I said to you earlier off camera, I think a lot of engines we do are more the fast road spec engines.
Yeah.
We've done a few race engines over the last few years, but not as many as fast road. And quite often now we find people sort of want the engine rebuilt, even just a standard road spec.
Wow.
But they don't want to take the engine out themselves.
Yeah,
So some of these cars are all having an engine rebuild, so we just take the car in, take the engine out for them, rebuild it, put it back in, and then give them back a working car. So that's sort of more where we are at the moment. But we still do a bit of race stuff. I mean, obviously me and my brother race off.
Yeah.
But I like to do a bit more race stuff actually. Quite like the engine sort of race rebuilds.
Do you find that as the values have increased over the last 15 years, there's less people wanting to risk them on the track, or do you just find that there's more people trying to bring them back to use on the road, and that's why you're getting more of the business?
I think it's probably a bit of both, really.
Okay.
You know, as I was speaking to Dad, Bob, a few days ago, you know, I think there's less Alfas racing in England now anyway.
Yeah.
They're probably getting, let's say, the value's gone up for them. But I think it's the other thing as well is, as Dad said to me, the people who used to race Alfas 20 years ago, but they grew up with Alfas when they were kids.
Yeah.
The people racing now probably grew up more like in the 70s and 80s, so they're racing 70s, 80s racing cars.
So do you do much 116 stuff as well?
Don't really do much 116. I haven't worked on the 116 for a very long time, so it's mainly 105 Alfa stuff we do, or 102. We do other classic cars, we used to do Alfas as well, but I said that's what we've sort of been more renowned for. And we've worked in so many 105s now that it's like bread and butter work really. So
wicked, wow.
Yeah, Mark 1 1750 GTV. It's owned by a guy called Michael who's imported it from Australia. So it's
from Australia?
Yeah, it's restored in Australia.
Blimey.
It's a very good quality restoration.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, it's not original Alfa colour, but I've had it in the ramp, looked underneath it, and it's solid, it's really nice. We're doing some engine upgrades for this gentleman. So we're putting power fast road cams in. Cool. And putting lightweight flywheel and putting a programmable distributor on it.
Oh, wow.
We've had to change the carbs.
1, 2, 3?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
1, 2, 3 to Z. We've had to change the carburetors on it because it originally came with 1600 DCO2s in it, some early 65, 66 DCO2s, and it wouldn't run right. So
no.
So you want us to sort that.
Pair of 40s on it?
Yeah, put a pair of 40 DCO32s, like the original carburetors. Yeah. And then it should be pretty much good to go. So we'll get it all, sort of the engine all sort of done up, and then we'll take it to the rolling road.
Cool. And
just tune it up, make sure the ignition time's correct, and you can have it back. And hopefully you can enjoy it for the spring and summer.
Yeah. You were telling me a little bit off camera that you've been helping your dad out since you can remember, really. Yeah,
both me and my brother Mikey have. I think I said to you, my first incarnation of working on one of these engines was being about 5 years old, and this is when we lived in Romford. Wow. And my dad had two Nord.
Essex boys.
You were Essex boys,
I didn't know that. Oh
wow. We had two Nord engines in the garage, and he would loosen the sump bolts slightly for me, and then he'll give me a 10mm spanner and make me loosen all the sump bolts. And they're all obviously caked in oil. Yeah. And horrible to take apart.
Starting young.
But I think the first time I worked on these properly with Dad was probably 15, 16, and I think Mike was probably the same. I mean, Mike started actually stripping gearboxes for Dad when he was sort of 15, 16, and then I think he stripped more gearboxes at one point. He was eating hot dinners at one point, and he can strip one in about 20 minutes.
Wow!
Like his eyes closed. He's pretty quick with it. So that was our probably. And then obviously over the years we've just done stuff with with Dad. I remember being 13, 14 and going to race meetings with Dad, who'd be looking after a 105 racer or something.
Yeah.
We went to Spa for the Spa 6-hour Classic 2010, me and Mike and Dad.
Wow.
We were sort of helped looking after a GTAM there.
Wow.
And there's loads of escapades we've had over the years and stuff, and so we just picked stuff up. And then a few years before, obviously, we took over the business. I would be in the garage with Dad at night and building engines and stuff and gearboxes with him, so just learning.
So nice to hear that the next generation is carrying on with some of the old Classic Alfa Romeos as well. You know, it's lovely to hear that there's people that are going to be around in 20 years time, 30 years time, that are still going to be able to strip gearboxes in 20 minutes, you know. A lot of those lessons are being lost, I think, so that's really important and gives you guys a lot of longevity looking at the future, where hopefully your customer base is going to continue to grow and you're going to continue to look after more and more people's cars.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I quite enjoy working on these. I hate working in modern vehicles, to be honest. Me and Mike were both mechanics before we sort of got into this. And modern vehicles are pretty horrendous to work on. So hopefully there's still a market for it in 5-10 years. I'm sure there will be.
Sure there will be, yeah. I was saying, I've seen a lot of our barcodes on things, looking around a couple of engine bays, a couple of servos over there and whatnot. So it's nice to see some Classic Alfa bits being put to use.
Yeah, I think the chap who owns that, a Spider, put the I think he got the servos off you. He put them on himself. But he said he got the decent quality servos because you can get cheap ones that don't always work. So.
You can. So how long have you and your brother been running Bob Dove Motorsport for?
Probably 4 years now.
4 years now.
Yeah, we've done it 4 years. I mean, Dad's always done it more on a self-employed basis. It was never a big company, and obviously me and Mike decided, right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it, try and do it big. So I mean, to this is just the start. Yeah. We want to get more ramps in there and potentially, hopefully, expand in the next few years. But you've got to do it slowly.
Yeah. You only just moved in here last month, didn't you?
Yeah. So this is obviously we've only been here since start of January. So there's a lot of stuff we haven't really finished doing yet. But we've had so much work on. We had to get some work out or get some cars out before we can sort of think about it.
Even to get it sort of this kind of shape in a few weeks really is pretty good going.
I mean, we need to get another ramp. We need to put another ramp there, but we need to get rid of some of the cars first. We need to put a boarding on the kitchen mezzanine.
Maybe we'll be back in a year's time and we'll do another one of these and we can see how you're looking then.
Yeah, like episode of Grand Design.
Yeah, see, we've come back. So you've got a couple of lovely red spiders, different colours to the red spiders. This is a more of a, I don't know if you can see on camera, this is more of an orangey red.
That, we've got an engine in the engine building room for that one. That's halfway built now.
Okay.
So once we've finished building that, we will dyno test it.
Yeah.
We agreed to dyno test it, just because obviously dyno testing, it's not cheap, but it's not expensive, but it's much better than having to do 300-400 miles on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then give it back.
And you get everything specific. I'm assuming you get everything down to decimal places, and you know exactly what you're working with, right?
Exactly. The engine dyno is great because you can got your oil pressure, your water temperature, your air fuel ratio.
If there's anything slightly wrong there, you know.
You're going to see what's wrong with it there.
Cool.
You can see the oil leaks. And I don't like giving engines back that are not running.
Yeah.
I want to make sure they're right and nothing's leaking and everything's perfect for the customer.
And then how long does that normally take you to, say you've had that spider in, to strip the engine out and rebuild what you need to, get it dyno tested and give it back to the customer, is it?
I would say about 3 months, 2 to 3 months. Okay. I mean, 3 months at the moment because we're quite busy. If we're not as busy, you probably get it in 2.5.
Oh, wow.
It sort of depends when you get it in a slot for the dyno. Because we go to we don't have our own engine dyno. We go to a company called SRD in Launceston. Cool. Mark Schillebeer owns it. And we rent his dyno basically for a half a day. And we run it in then. And he's really, really helpful because he builds a lot of rally Pintos. And he's really good at carbs. So if we can't find something to tune it, he goes, we'll do this, we'll put this jet in, we'll put that emulsion tube in, and suddenly it works.
You just need a guy there that's got that experience and does it every day.
So we can really fine tune it, and it's great because you can see the AFR ratios and the half throttle and full throttle, and everything's spot on. That's so you get an engine back that obviously is correct, not running okay.
Okay, so we're going to have a look at this spider engine?
Yeah, so walk into the engine room. So this is obviously isolated from the other workshop. Nice. So if we're doing the cutting and grinding, or any dirty work, doors closed, it doesn't get in here, so this is nice and sterile. So I guess we start off quickly with some of these other engines. So this has come in another week.
This has just come out of something, has it?
Yeah, this has been, I think this is on eBay for a few weeks or a few months. The chap who sent me this wants it a fast road spec, so it's a 2 litre, we're going to build a fast road spec, and it's going to go into 1300 Junior.
Okay.
So when we finish it, it'll be all nice and clean and vapor blasted, and hopefully about 150, 560 horsepower. Sort of the fast road spec we do. We've sort of got a formula for it now.
Yeah,
so
I see.
We sort of put the same parts in it.
Cool. And that's do you often get sent like just engines then? rather than them coming in a car, you just...
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean,
on a pallet,
yeah,
send them down.
Quite often someone just sends a pallet down
Oh, cool.
with an engine on and speaks on the phone, you know, and say, right, I want this, this and this. Some of the standard rebuilds, I say we do a lot of fast road spec rebuilds, which I prefer doing because you can be a bit more creative. But yeah, I mean, you send us an engine and you know, some parts, or we can get the parts, we'll build you an engine, so it's not a problem. Next, this is, we haven't got the block because the block's off for line honing at Gosnells at the moment, but this is a 2600.
Look at that.
So it's a massive head. I mean,
don't see many of these, do you?
No, I mean, to put that head on the block, you need two of us really. So this is just, we just had
How
a
much
quick...
does the head weigh?
I reckon it's got to be 30, 40 kilos.
Wow.
With the cams in it. It's got to be 40 with the cams in. But this has just had a quick go through really. Most of the work we're doing is on the bottom end.
Okay.
So the block's off with line honing because it ran its main bit and big end bearings quite a few years ago.
Okay.
So when we put it together, it's not quite right, so we want it perfect. So that should be back hopefully next week, and we can start assembling that.
Wow. And you're posting all this stuff on your Instagram, I've been seeing a lot of as well, right? And
yeah, we
doing a lot of social media, so.
Yeah, we try to post a lot of stuff on social media. I mean, Dad never posts anything on social media, and obviously I've grown up for a little bit of social media, so to me it's just great to promote yourself really, and especially do something that you don't do very much. I mean, we've done, I think that's our fourth 2600, so we've done about one a year so far.
Oh,
wow. I mean, the chap who owns that, it's called Ian Packer. He's obviously a nice chap, and he's obviously put a lot of people onto us, so got to thank Ian for that.
Brilliant.
And behind you is a 1750 engine. The guy who owns this, we did a race engine for quite a few years ago, and this is for his road car.
Okay.
So we're sort of putting it together. So he's done some of the work himself, or some machining himself, I believe. We're basically going to put the block together, you know, the engine together. But this will need to go for line hone because the houses aren't right. There's a red Spider there in the corner we were just talking about. The car came in, Mike had it on the ramp within half hour, and he got the engine out within 3 hours, and I think by the end of the day the engine was in here, ready to be stripped. That's cool. And it was in the corner, and I think he came and stripped it the next day. So we can get things done pretty quickly. Yeah. You know, it's pretty quick. Yes,
that's very quick.
So Mike's obviously got pretty good at getting the engines and gearboxes out now. I mean, Mike does the engine build as well sometimes, but Mike's probably out there a little bit more than I am, and I'm probably in here a bit more. Okay. But I think we work best that way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how you've generally, have you always, since the 4 years you guys have taken over, that's generally how you split it?
Yeah, I would say I would do most of the engines and gearboxes. Mike would do the more fabrication, mechanical work. But Mike's done a few engines and gearboxes and heads as well. And obviously Dad sort of comes in and makes sure we're doing it properly. Nice, yeah. And tells me I'm doing it wrong. But,
what Dad's for, hey?
Yeah, he's always good to have him as a bit of advice. But we think we work well like that. If he works in exactly here together, I think we'll probably clash.
So with a blank checkbook, what would you do with this block?
I mean, if I had a blank checkbook, I would vapor blast the block. But vapor blasting obviously is quite, you've got a lot of blast media, so it creates a lot of dust, and a lot of dust gets in the oil ways, so you block the oil ways off, but you'd easily spend 4 hours cleaning it. You had to spend ages cleaning it, so I'll vapor blast everything, but then you spend a day cleaning it properly. So when we soda blast these, we use bicarbonate soda.
Oh, cool, okay.
Which is water soluble.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can block the oil ports off.
And then you can wash it out.
And wash it out, and it will just turn to mush and come out, and you don't have to spend 5 hours cleaning it. You can spend only an hour and a half, 2 hours cleaning it. So,
brilliant. So this is the engine right from that red Spider we were looking at just outside?
So this is sort of, the block's nearly all together, got to put the oil pump in it. But the head is behind it, which is ready to go. I've built the head, that's all shimmed up. So the gentleman had the rocker cover painted for it a few months ago, I think. So I've polished the rocker cover up, but this is all done now. So this is literally ready to plonk on. We've soda blasted that head. Let me get this off again. And then obviously cleaned all the cams up and re-shimmed it. And we B-blast all the camshaft sprockets as well, just to make it look nice and clean because they're all oil stained. This sump has been vapor blasted, so we vapor blasted this sump. It needs a final clean, but it just gets rid of the old oil staining. So yeah, we basically got to put the oil pump on, and the head can go on this. So all the pistons are obviously in it. It's a full rebuild. It's had new chains, pistons and liners.
Blimey.
Crank's all been fully balanced.
was going to say, so things like, I'm assuming when you're building these, you get little bits that go wrong here and there, and all of a sudden that chain's not usable anymore or whatnot. I mean, do you find that we can get bits down to you next day or quick enough? I know you're down here in Barnstaple, and we're obviously in Sussex, but do you find that if you need a chain and you need it for the day, next day or the day after, you can jump on our website, order one, and it'll get here on time?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I can get an order to you by 3 o'clock, it'll come the next day, which is really handy. Obviously, the beauty about these engines, you can get nearly everything from them now. So when we do it for rebuild, we do every consumable, so all the chains, all the bearings are done. Quite often I'll put new pistons and liners to things, because some of these engines come in on the original pistons and liners from 1960 or 70.
Wow.
The quality of piston and liners are pretty good, but also the price is actually quite good as well for what you're actually buying.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, we change everything that's remotely worn, and then you can have an engine that should do another 10, 15 years worth of work easily.
Wow.
And we obviously balance the whole crank assembly. Heads are all skimmed. We also recut all the valve seats. So we do all the machining it needs doing, so that, you know, we don't cut any corners of it. And it's not worth cutting corners, because if it goes in the car and doesn't work, it just costs so much more money to fix.
Yeah,
So
and you got to start all over again.
that head is off the grey GTV we just had a look at.
Oh yeah?
So this has got fast road cams in it. I haven't got the cams in it, but we've obviously cleaned the head up. It's had new followers, and it's all been shimmed up, and I've set the cam timing for this already, so when it goes in the car, we can just line the marks up, because they are cat cams.
Yeah.
I think the cat cams you guys sell.
Yeah.
That was got a sort of a mix and match set of cams to sort of spec, but obviously we tie them up differently. So I do it on the desk, so when you put it in the car, you're not leaning over the thing.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, you were saying earlier you feel like you're at a little bit more of a formula with the Nord engines now, and you know what your customer's going for and what you need to put into the engine or to achieve that, essentially. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we've sort of the last few years definitely found out a sort of a, I hate to use the word stage 1 or stage 2, but you sort of found a formula, like a stage 2 fast road, you could call it, where we know those cams and that dizzy and that flywheel, that cam time and these valves and chokes work. And I can guarantee you being 5 horsepower within, you know, what I've quoted you. I mean, Dad's been building these things since the 1970s. So it's just a case of just tweaking stuff and making sure everything works properly.
Brilliant. And do you, I guess that's something that you guys at Bob Dove Motorsport have that a lot of people don't have, is that you're carrying that experience from your dad, and that is, you know, you are working here building engines. You've been running this with your brother for 4 years, but really you've got that experience going back to the 70s and doing it, because you've been taught so many little, you've been given so many breadcrumbs and taught how your dad's always done it, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I said to you earlier, we're really lucky. Really, Dad's obviously taught us what he knows, and we are just to try to maintain a reputation and just tweak stuff a little bit. And maybe there's certain things Dad might have not wanted to do in the past that I've sort of started using and doing, and it's worked.
It's always, with all these things, with all engines, engine building, it's always fine margins, and if you've got 1 or 2 or 5%, that makes a massive difference.
100%.
Especially when you're on the track and someone's had their engine built somewhere and someone's had their engine built here, and you're flying straight past them on the straights. I think that guy's going to want to know, where's that extra 10 horsepower come from?
And especially the road engines, you want the power, but it's trying to focus on the torque and the power delivery in the mid-range and getting a nice drivable vehicle, nice drivable car. You can build a 160 horsepower engine, but it doesn't rev much below, it doesn't work below 3,000. It's useless on the road. So. And the only engine we've got at the moment is that one that you'll stand next to there, that's a 2-litre engine. That's for a customer we've done an engine for already. We've done an engine for him already, and he's blue spider, and he wants just a spare one basically lying around. And he's got other Alfas as well, so we're going to hopefully, that's more of an as and when engine. Cool. So we'll just do a few hours a week on it. Okay, I see. And build it up, and he'll have a spare one in his garage ready if he wants to, because he's got, I think, a GTV as well, or step-nosed Alfa, I think. So he could go in that. Cool. So it's just one of them. If whatever goes wrong, dumping the new one in, I guess. Yeah. And that's come to you on a pallet as well. No, so we built the engine for him last year, and he sent us the car. We put the engine in for him, but this was the engine that was in it already. I see. So you swapped. So we're taking it out and just, we're just storing it until he wants it done. Right. But I think we're going to be pretty busy here. We've got the 2600 block coming back, and then the 102, the 2000 engine that's going to go on the engine stand. So in a minute we're going to have a full
a touring engine. You said?
Yeah, sorry,
2000 touring.
Yeah, we're going to have quite a busy.
Wow, yeah, you're going to have a very busy few weeks in the engine shop.
We've got the tools to strip the heads as well, so that little anchor.
Yeah.
That goes in, and then Dad's got loads of special tools. Like the steering wheel pillar. Yeah,
and we do sell the head lifting tools actually. I just remember putting them on the shelf the other day.
So before I've had to have 2 on the head to get.
Oh really?
Before, yeah, because it's been so seized on.
Wow. Is that a common problem? Do the heads often seize on?
If it's been sitting for a few years and it's not had antifreeze in it, yeah. I remember quite a few years ago, probably 4 years ago now, we had 2 or 3 engines come from Israel. We had a contact, a chap called Gad.
Yeah, 4-leaf clover.
That's it, Gad. He sent us the engines through his friend, and we got them. And basically, they don't use antifreeze, from what I understand, in Israel.
Oh.
And these heads, we had WD-40 head lifting tools. We were trying to heat a head up in certain areas. We had the engine on an engine crane, and we had 2 of us, or one of us each side on the engine lifting stand.
Yeah.
Trying to push it down. They had the head bolts on it. It was seized on.
Wow.
Nothing would get it off. We spoke to Dad. I think he said to Dad, basically, you could run them without the head bolts on for half hour, and they won't come off. So you had to, and I think in the end, one of them we had to take away and get. I think they had to laser cut it off, or machine it, mill it off block, because it was the original engine for that car, and they wanted the engine number on the block.
Okay, I see.
That was an extreme case. But I've had a few before where it's taken me half a day to get off. Wow. And in the end, you just flip it over with WD-40 and just leave it. And then you can't hit them hard because it's aluminium heads, so you have to use a plastic hammer. And
it just take the time, little bit.
Yeah, you can't rush it. You break a stud, and trying to replace a stud in these now, you don't want to try and take the studs out.
Yeah. Paul, thank you so much. It's been really great coming to Bob Dove Motorsport. I've been literally looking forward to this for weeks, and I know Tom was such a big fan of your dad and wanted to come see his work that he's made the long journey down today. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for coming. It's great to meet you. I mean, we've been talking to you guys for years on the phone, so it's just nice to put some face to the names and have you guys, and it's been really good. So
brilliant.
Thank you very much for coming.
And thanks again, Paul.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bob, thank you very much for having us down here today.
Well, thank the boys, it's their place.
Oh, it is their place now, yeah, but I wanted to chat to you and see a little bit about where you've come from, when you started, and when were you first starting to mess around on Alfas?
Alfas, probably 1976.
Wow.
Prior to that, I was involved with AC Aces and Cobras.
Cool.
A friend of mine lived behind where I lived at home when I was with my parents, had an AC Ace, and I sort of got involved with ACs and things like that. Prior to that, I'd been working with all sorts of sports racing cars. I ran a Lotus 30.
Wow.
With a big V8 in the back of it for a number of years. I was approached by John Lyon, who I'd known through the Lotus 30, who came along to see me with Richard Banks. They wanted to run a production saloon of some sort. And John's wife worked for the managing director of Worth London, Worth Perfume London, and they just launched Monsieur Worth Aftershave. So the sponsorship money was available, so we talked about what was the best thing to run, and it ended up a toss-up between a 3-litre Capri or a new 2-litre Alfetta GTV.
Cool.
And that's what we ended up doing. Richard bought a 2-litre GTV, brought it to me. We took the engine out, which went off to Steve Harris in the New Forest. I prepared the car. Production saloon, couldn't do a lot, obviously. Put a roll cage in it and so on and so forth. And we went and we ran that in '77, which was quite successful. We didn't win the championship that year. Jerry Marshall won the championship that year. But I think we were second in class. And then the following year, John Dooley bought a drive in the same car, which was painted black with Napolina's sponsorship.
Cool.
And we did both the Derwent and the Britax Championships. I think we might have won the Derwent class. And at the end of that year, John basically said to me, would you run the Alfa Sud for me in the British Saloon Car Championship?
Wow.
So I thought about it for a nanosecond. And
bit his hand off.
yeah, and Peter West of Westtune up in Cheshire had been running it, and Rex Greenslead had been the driver.
Okay.
But John had been driving the 2-litre Alfetta, which was having a lot of problems, so he wanted something simple to drive.
Yeah.
So I ended up with the Sud in the workshop. At that point, the 1300 engine had just been homologated, and away we went. And the first year was pretty average.
Okay.
The second year was better. The regulations, which were very fluid at that time, mainly thanks to Tom Walkinshaw, who I owe a great deal to Tom, because his interpretation of the rules was interesting. And one of the rules was about carburation. It said carburation is free, but inlet manifolds are not. Well, the problem with an Alfa Sud flat 4, you've got a little twin choke carburetor in the middle with long trunks out to the heads, and it didn't matter how big a carburetor you put on the top, it's strangled.
Yeah.
So then they said carburetors are free, inlet manifolds may be modified. So Tom turns up with a Rover with an Offenhauser 4 IDA manifold on the top of it, and the original Rover manifold machined to a thin shim. At which point the RAC rulemaker said, that's not actually what we meant. And it was clarified that carburetors are free, inlet manifolds are free, but you must respect the original number of chokes.
Okay.
Twin chokes on an Alfa Sud,
Yep.
one choke on each head, great. Think of the biggest choke you can find, 48 IDA Weber. Because I remember, I'm old enough to have been around in the 1 litre Screamer Formula 3 days when everybody had an Anglia engine with half an IDA on it. So we put half an IDA on each bank of the Alfa Sud, and we went from 112 brake to 135 brake overnight. With a little bit of exhaust tuning, we went from a 4-into-2-into-1 to a 4-into-1 exhaust system.
Wow, okay.
And we ended up with 145 horsepower from a 1300 Alfa Sud. And even with
They
the
weigh
weight,
nothing either.
even with the weight disadvantage over the minis, it was real change. It was life changing.
Wow.
And in 1981, we won the 1300 championship.
Wow. And BTCC?
In the BTCC. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it's even more amazing that our budget for that year was £13,500. And British Leyland spent 110,000 with 3 Metros trying to beat us.
Wow.
So we were quite shut. And the irony is that we were leading the championship outright at the middle of the year. And one of the rules was that the race-winning car had to be on the manufacturer's stand at the motor show that year. And Alfa's got a bit nervous because this car wasn't the original Rex Greenslead car, which John rolled into a ball at Alton Park. This was John's old shopping car.
Okay.
And it was a little bit frayed around the edges.
She's in the BTCC, that's just so good, I love that.
And Alfa's decided that it looked a bit scruffy, which a bit scruffy is an understatement, I mean, in all honesty. So I was given a set of new front wings and instructed to tidy it up a bit. Well, when I took the wings off, there was nothing to attach them to. So I had to make up new material, weld it all in. Fine, great. Next time we go testing, we're a second a lap slower because the shell's suddenly different stiffness and the car's not handling right. And it took us about 3 or 4 races to get the handling back.
Okay.
And I think at the end of the year we were second overall, and we probably lost by about 3 points. And if we hadn't have...
So if you didn't have to look good, you'd have won by a canter.
We then went on to run the GTV6, which we won the championship. Well, we won our class.
So you've always come from a motorsport background, and you've always been trying to make things go as quickly as possible.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Oh wow, I never knew that. So when did the business start migrating? Because you've given us about your first 10 years there in motorsport, right? When did it start migrating into fast road engines, or specifically building race engines for other people rather than managing your own car?
Well, bear in mind that all of this time I was actually working for Lloyds Bank.
Wow. Okay.
Put it this way, they were paying me.
Okay, I see. Okay.
If I was still working for the bank at 11 o'clock in the morning, it was a bad day. Usually from about 11 o'clock onwards, I was on the phone organising parts for somebody or other. Sam, my wife, and I had been married 10 years. We got to 1987 and we hadn't got any children, and I thought, I know she wanted children, and you know, seemed the right thing to do, but not while we were racing.
Yeah, yeah.
So at the end of '86, I told Michael Lindsay, who was the team manager at the time, that I would do one more year, and we did one more year, '87. In fact, we did about 4 races in '88 just to keep John's licence going.
Okay.
And then packed up. Paul came along in '89. And Mike in '92.
Wow.
In '97, I got sick of banking. The industry had changed dramatically. It was all about sales and not about caring for people. Yeah. And the job that I was doing was basically fraud and money laundering investigation. And they kept telling me that I wasn't producing income because everything was sales generated. So I told them to stop fencing and make me an offer. And I retired at 52.
Not bad.
At which point...
Your real career started.
I started working from my garage at home, building engines for people and preparing cars.
Brilliant.
Including Nick Atkins' Julia Super, which John Dooley was driving. And we had a great arrangement with a guy. It was a lovely guy. We used to call him the Viking. And he'd turn up on a Monday evening with the car on a recovery vehicle, drop it off at my garage at home. We'd put it in the garage, prep it, and he'd pick it up on a Friday and they'd go off racing again, because I wasn't allowed to go out because we had 2 children.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did all the preparation from home. At the same time, I was doing a few things. I know I did the engine for Richard Norris's
Richard.
1300 Spider, the little white 1300 Spider, and a few other engines for different people. And I never advertised. I just probably did an engine every 3 or 4 months or something like that. Just a bit of pocket money, really. And
did you just find that you've done one engine, and because you were known in the Alfa community at this point and running at the touring cars and whatnot, you just were never short of work?
Well, I probably turned away as much work as I actually took on. You know, it was actually quite embarrassing, because the trouble is, for some reason, if you put Bob Dove in an advert, it was supposedly sold cars better. So the number of cars that I totally restored by Bob Dove,
people were lying about them.
Complete nonsense. And I always used to stamp my engines with BD and a date stamp next to the number 1 plug on the cylinder head. And a number of times people said, I've bought a car with one of your engines. And I say, what number is it? What do you mean? Well, look for the date stamp. And, you know, half the time it wasn't there, you know. So when the boys started fiddling around, they obviously decided they'd got a market already. And I'm not going to stop them from using my name. They think it works. That's fine, and it seems to be working for them. You know.
So the boys have been doing this for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And you still popping in every now and then?
Well, they've only been here now since Christmas. So they moved in over the Christmas period officially from the 1st of January. Prior to that, Paul was doing all the engine work in my garage at home.
Oh wow.
Using my electricity. This place, I think, has been fantastic for them. I mean, we've only been here 3 months now, but the amount of work that's coming in, there's obviously a market for it.
Exactly,
and I'm happy to support them. There's still some things that I do. I mean, I rebuild Webers for them and things like that. I've taught them both everything I know in terms of building gearboxes, building engines, because I used to build as many gearboxes as I did engines, probably more. It's just been fantastic to see what they've accomplished, really.
It must make you feel very proud to be able to walk in and see.
I'm very proud. I mean, Paul tends to be far more pedantic and particular about things. I mean, he tells me I'm sloppy now. Whereas I would use plastic gauge to check a couple of the main bearings. He would check every one of them. And it's probably best, you know. I think the problem is when you've been involved in something for a long time, you know what works and what will do. And Paul's probably still...
Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes to sort of go, well, you never know, or let's try this new, or let's try...
Yeah.
And when did your boys start working for you then?
Well, not for me. They never worked for me.
Oh, they've never worked for you?
No, they never worked for me.
I see.
They've always done their own thing. It's a difficult question, really, because Mike worked for Devon 4x4 as a welder fabricator.
Okay.
Paul was a chef, trained as a chef.
Didn't know that, wow.
Worked at Thatch in Croyd.
Yeah.
And all the time they're playing with cars and things like that. And I bought the Fiesta as a road car, a rally car that is now. It was Paul's vision to start Bob Dove Motorsport Limited as a business. And I wasn't sure there was enough work there. You know, it's all right to do it as a hobby job and a bit of pocket money, but you know,
to pay your mortgage with it is scary.
It's scary, you know. But Mike is the welder fabricator. Unfortunately, he's got flu, so he's not around. So Mike is the welder fabricator, and he does all the chassis work. But he's quite a good mechanic as well.
Do you have mainly Mike's body and fabrication, Paul's engines, and they sort of help each other when they need it?
Yeah, that's basically how it works.
And they call you every now and then and say, "Dad, help us with this. We don't know what we're doing."
Well, it's more a case of occasionally Mike might want to do a gearbox, and he hasn't done one for a year or two, so he'll say, "Can you come and watch me while I do a gearbox?" You know, which is fine. But carburetors, Webers, Delortos, and things like that, I tend to rebuild for them anyway because it keeps me involved. Not having Paul working in my garage at home is very helpful because it probably saves me £5 a day in electricity. And
especially with all that welding.
Well, Mike didn't do the welding at home.
Okay.
Not the last 6 or 7 years, but it used to be frightening when Mike was welding.
Yeah.
But I always knew when Paul was porting ahead because my electricity bill went like that. Because I got a smart meter in the kitchen. I think, oh, Paul's been porting ahead today.
And we can see by how clean he likes to keep some of the blocks and stuff over here that he'll spend a while cleaning out, won't he?
Well, I mean, he tends to use this truck cleaner stuff.
Okay. Comes out really nice.
Traffic film remover, TFR. I've always used Geyser, but he uses that. It's a bit more corrosive, so it's not as nice on the hands.
Okay.
He goes mad with me when I rebuild a pair of carburetors because I get the bodies and put them in a bowl full of cellulose thinners and clean them with a brush and my nails go black. And I smell of cellulose thinners for a couple of days afterwards. But I mean, as I said,
the carbs come out nice, don't they?
I'm 80 next month, and I've survived all of these horrible chemicals over the years.
Too right.
Going back when we were racing, take the brake pads out and cough, 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 all the asbestos dust everywhere.
It must have been leaded fuel right at the start as well, right?
Yeah, it was, all the way through. I mean, we used to, I mean, at one point, I think we were about 105 octane or something like that. You could buy.
Blimey.
I could be wrong. You know, when I think of the horrible chemicals and nasty things that I've done over the years, I don't know why I'm still here.
Yeah. So Bob, thank you very much again for having us here.
You're very welcome.
We've learned a lot about you, all the way from the early British Touring Car Championship to setting your sons up, teaching them everything you know, and letting them use your name and take this business on and become really successful with it. And I just want to say thanks for letting us come and have a nose around.
You're very welcome. As I say, it's their business. I'm just a name on the door for some reason. and it's very nice of you to come and take the time and trouble to do this, because I'm sure it'll be helpful to them.
It's our pleasure, and it'll be helpful to us as well. So nice to be able to scratch each other's backs, and after we've had such a long relationship for however many years now, it's good to finally meet you and put some faces to some names, you know. Good
to see you.
Well, we had a few little gifts for you quickly. We've brought a little Classic Alfa goodie bag. We've got t-shirt, mugs, pens, stickers and whatnot in there for you.
Oh, you're a star.
Enjoy. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. So that's us done at Bob Dove Motorsports. Hope you enjoyed watching this video and the chats that we had with Paul and Bob. We saw some really interesting cars and got to see some great little engine builds they're doing in there. So hope to see you next time for another episode of Shelf to Shop, and I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.